Good morning, VC. Chris made fun of me for getting the memo about taking a sip when you do your video. I'm going to have a sip of coffee this morning. It's early. Not going to show any records today, folks. The video is going to be about what I think is a little deeper aspect of the subject. It's not just the music. What do I mean by that? Well, one of the things that I watched early on was Alan Zweig's video Vinyl. He says in there, early in the video, it's not just the music. I wish it were. If it was just the music, there would be no video. Just there's a lot of great music, and I got some of it. Very true. And I think for most of us, and if you haven't seen that video, you have to watch it. If you saw it a long time ago, watch it again. I've watched it a number of times because you'll the second or third time you'll get some different thoughts and ideas than what you had the first time you watched it. Okay, what brought up this video was the Hawaiian update I did, and I hope you folks that haven't watched it will go back and watch that. I know most of you have no interest in Hawaiian music, but I tell a real great story in there that related to a record, and I think you guys will get a kick out of it and you'll enjoy it. That just happens to be that's a good example of what I'm talking about. And to be a little more specific, music evolves out of culture. This may be a large culture like a country, it may be a smaller culture like an ethnic minority, it may be a culture like punk rockers, for example, a musical genre. It can exist either in a large scale or a small scale, and it exists in a context. And by context, I mean a perfect example of this is high school. Well, the music that we listened to when we were in high school, it was the context of us growing up and our friends and the music that was popular at the time and so forth. Can happen any time in life. Could be high school, could be in college, could be from a romance, could be something that happens during your life, that music becomes important to you because of the context of when you heard it and what causes you to appreciate it. I'll use the Hawaiian culture just a little bit as an example because that is a good example here, and I've done a couple of those videos, but this applies to any kind of music. I don't care if it's heavy metal or what you're doing, it's not just the music. Okay, I think one of the reasons that probably most of the record collectors aren't big on Hawaiian music, probably they've never been to Hawaii, and the music is a part of the culture. Now, if you've taken one of those 4 nights, 5 day vacations to Hawaii, or you are a 7 day, or you're there 2 weeks, you get a little bit of the most superficial part of the culture that relates to the music. But when you spend some time in the islands, there's a culture, there's a way of doing things, there's a way of thinking, and so forth. And it has to do with the music. And when you spend some time there, like I have, you appreciate the music so much more because it's not just the music, it's the whole cultural experience that evolves around the music. Okay, in the story there, the Hawaiian update, where I talk about the Larry Rivera record and talking to him on the telephone and so forth, uh, he was telling me some stories about Elvis. They become fast friends, and so I've got a little story here. On one of the trips, they got together, going to do some music together. So we take the king of Hawaiian music. Now, Larry wasn't the king of Hawaiian music. I'm just going to say that because it makes my story sound better. But you take the king of Hawaiian music and you take the king of rock and roll, Elvis, and they get together and want to do some duets. What music do you think they pick to do their duets on? Yeah, you could guess all day long, and you're not ever going to guess what they did. They did duets together of Patti Page music, okay? What's that got to do with my story? Fits in perfect with my story. Uh, so I can just imagine seeing Larry and Elvis doing Tennessee Waltz, okay? How that applies to me and my context in growing up. When I was a young boy, I had an aunt and uncle who were farmers who didn't have any children, and so I'd spend quite a bit of time with them in the summer. Well, the first live performance I ever heard, my aunt had a big old upright piano in the parlor, and she would play that piano and sing the Tennessee Waltz. That's the first performance, live performance I saw and heard. And so, of course, when I hear that song, it's not just the music, it's thinking about seeing my aunt sit at that big old piano and play the piano part of my childhood. Well, what does this have to do with music? Nothing. Everything. The culture, the context of our lives. The music, when we enjoy it like we folks in the VC do, is the soundtrack of our lives. So I hope you enjoyed this topic, a little bit different than just showing records, and I'll say aloha.